Boarding School Murder Mystery, Part 9. Previously, in Boarding School Murder Mystery, the fog finally lifted, but instead of answers, Whisperin' Lake revealed a lone wooden skiff drifting in the open water. Local police arrived, then the provincial authorities, dragging the lake while the entire school watched from windows and stairwells. Rumors spread fast. Mr. Grunfeld hated boats, hated water, and never drank. So why was his skiff found with an almost empty whiskey bottle inside? As officers began sweeping the lake's central basin, tension tightened across campus. Everyone waited. Everyone feared what they might find beneath the still water. Chapter 9. Werewolves, Wendigos, Whatever. Tales of the Alberta Highway by Glory Fink. Dear Diary, the campus has been abuzz with discussions of Mr. Grunfeld's night fishing and drinking when he lectured so many times against drinking. So now, once a week, we all have to attend a new health class taught by Nurse Pratchett. And of course, the first set of classes is about addictions and specifically alcohol. It turns out Nurse Pratchett used to be an EMT ambulance driver in Manitoba, and she said if we all pay attention in our health class, at the end of every class, if there's still time, she'll tell us her war stories from when she was an EMT in the Manitoba wilderness. Today, she told us a story about receiving a call to do a wellness check on a backwoodsman in late winter. They couldn't reach his cabin until the start of the spring thaw in early March, where they found that he'd drunk through 3 cases of whiskey bottles and then rigged his shotgun up on a tree near his cabin to shoot himself. But because he'd shot himself in the chest, the blood had frozen him to the tree stump he'd been sitting on. But since the thaw had started, she and her EMT partner were concerned about wild animals smelling the thawing blood and coming to eat a bit of the man. Luckily, they had a blowtorch in the ambulance for undisclosed reasons, and they used the blowtorch to thaw the area around the body and then pry him off the stump using crowbars. Then they loaded the body onto a gurney, but the entire 3-hour drive back to the city he kept thawing, and so the blood ended up sloshing around on the floor of the back of the ambulance since they couldn't fit him into a body bag due to the unusual position he had frozen in. And because his blood alcohol content was so high, it apparently prevented the blood from coagulating. I'm not sure what we're supposed to garner from that story, other than medical work in the wilderness is wild and can be gruesome. When I asked Nurse Pratchett if they took pictures of the scene before blowtorching around the body, she asked me why. I responded, in case he had died due to foul play? Why would anyone want to kill someone in the backwoods? I'm starting to suspect Canadians have a terminal case of lack of suspicion. After school, I went down to the laundry room to hang out with Raine and Mrs. Hamadi and help them fold laundry. They asked me how my day was going, so I told them about health class and about our discussion about alcoholism. Raine looked at me. I guess my thoughts were still on my face because he said, "And?" So I said what I was thinking. And I'm confused how people get addicted to alcohol. In TV and movies, they always show people dealing with awful hangovers. If it really does feel so bad, why do people keep drinking it? Doesn't it feel like poison? Can't they tell it's hurting their bodies to drink so much? Raine and Mrs. Hamadi both nodded like they understood far more than me, but they didn't say anything. What? I asked them. Do I sound like just some naive kid? Is this one of those you'll understand when you're older things? Raine chuckled and replied, "Yeah, I mean, you probably will understand better as you get older and experience more of the world. And you're right, alcohol does act kind of like a poison. But people drink to excess for a variety of reasons, and those people most likely feel like those reasons are valid in the moment." Mrs. Hamadi added, "A bit of poison can be medicine, but a lot of poison is still poison." We were all quiet for a moment, just folding laundry. And then Raine commented, "Maybe one day we'll have better medicines and society will develop more effective medicines for people who develop addictions. It's a sickness, Gwen. We need to remember there are many ill people in the world, and some carry their illnesses silently because they know there's no current cure, so they don't see a point in burdening others with their struggles. Mrs. Himati vigorously nodded her head. I got the impression both Raine and Mrs. Himati had seen many sad things in this world, and it saddened me that these two kind adults were witnesses to sad things in this world. I would probably grow up to see similar things, and I wondered if there would ever be any solutions to reduce the sadness in the world, or if this is just how the world will always be. I wondered if my mother was right, that the world is filled with sadness because people think there isn't enough love to go around. But how can there not be enough love when I never feel like I run out of love? People just don't make any sense to me, I suppose. I think I released a deep sigh because Raine then burst out. Hey, did I ever tell you about the ghosts of the Alberta highway? There are ghosts on the highway? How? I asked. Here is the story he told us. When Raine was a young man, he needed money because being a hippie didn't pay. He heard about some seasonal work up in Alberta every spring that would pay half a year's wages to work 12 to 16 hours a day for 3 weeks, cleaning up old abandoned cars and litter along this highway in the Alberta province. 2 teams of 6 men each sleep in a camper while they do it, and all your meals are provided while you do this work. Since it was paid government work, he figured it was legit, so he signed up. Bob was the foreman of the team Raine was assigned to, and his rules were: always stay with the group, never wander into the woods no matter what you think you heard or saw, no matter what. Lights out is at 10 p.m. When Bob says lights out, it's all lights out. No talking. Go to sleep. You'll be back up at dawn. All windows and doors of all vehicles must remain locked at night. No exceptions. When you need to piss or shit, his words, do it in the camp toilet. Never go into the woods, ever. No drinking, no drugs. At the end of the 3 weeks, both teams will go to a bar to celebrate, and the foremans pay for it if you are into that kind of thing. No guns allowed except Bob's rifle and shotgun for wild animals. If he has a gun out, everyone must get into the camper. No hitchhikers, no girlfriends, no wives, no kids. You are not allowed to keep anything you find. Everything must be burnt. Do not whistle after sunset or before dawn, ever. Didn't you think these rules were rather restrictive? I asked Raine. Nah, most of that sounded fairly normal when working with all male crews. It wasn't that different from when I worked on a tuna boat the previous summer, so I didn't think much about it. Honestly, I was pretty relieved because men can get very rowdy when you mix guns, beer, and sex workers together. Bob and 2 of the guys had done this work previous years, and it was me and 2 other guys who were new to this team. Bob drove the camper with a covered trailer attached to the hitch, and one of the seasoned guys drove the car-hauling trailer truck. The first week went fine, but by the 4th day, we started finding bodies in the cars. Bodies? I exclaimed. Yeah, I guess this guy's car had broken down and he'd frozen inside the car, or else the fumes got him. What did you do? Did you call the police? Nah, we just loaded the car onto the trailer and marked the windows DB. Dead body? Yup. But then, the next day, we found a car empty with the doors unlocked, and the driver's side door was still open. There were no visible footprints in the snow leading anywhere, and there was still gas in the tank, so I started the engine. But Bob yelled at us to go into the camper as he pulled out his shotgun, so we jogged back and waited inside with the seasoned workers. When one of the new guys, Fred, asked Luke, this gnarly older man, what was going on, Luke said, "Animals," and didn't elaborate. We heard a shot outside. Tim, the other new guy, said, "Bob just shot into the woods, but I can't see anything. Now he's driving the car back up here with the door still open and his shotgun cocked." Then Bob yelled, "All clear," so we went back outside to finish loading the car. I could hear Bob saying to Luke, "I've got that old feeling. A bit after lunch, we'll move to the new site." And Luke said, "We've still got more trash to gather." And Bob spit out, "To hell with the contract. Safety first." Luke replied, "I'll radio the other team and let them." Then Bob told us, "Everyone has to stay in teams of 2. Stay within 15 feet of each other at all times. We're going to move soon after lunch, so prioritize any other vehicles you can see. Gather what trash you can, and for the love of God, stay 30 feet or more away from the tree line. Got it? All right. Now do what you can as fast as you can. I teamed up with Tim because we were the two fastest at trash pickup, and we immediately started combing the area for trash. By midday, we'd gotten all the visible trash and had 3 bags each fully filled. The other 2 teams had finished their work, so during lunch, Bob decided to just go ahead and move site with Luke driving the transport truck. At the new site, Bob immediately set up the burn barrel to start burning what we gathered earlier, and we continued to pick up trash. But even before sunset, Bob yelled for everyone to get away from the tree line and only pick up along the roadside. Something strange was definitely going on. As we were walking back to the site, Tim told me, "I'm actually kind of glad we left the other site early. At one point, I could have sworn I heard my mother calling me, 'Timothy, deep in the woods.' It was giving me the creeps. My mom died years ago, but if I didn't know better." That night, Bob made us what he called burn barrel stew, which was pretty good and definitely appreciated after all those cold sandwiches. "What was going on, Raine?" I asked him. Well, that night, I asked the fellas while we were all warm and had full bellies, "Bob, did you see a wolf back there? Is that why we had to move?" Luke snorted and said, "Or something like a wolf." "What's like a wolf? A bear?" I asked. "Nah, bears are still asleep in early spring. They don't come out until there's food worth eating," Raine replied. Bob said, "Have you ever heard of the hungry gap? We're in the hungry gap time of year. Animals that don't hibernate are getting plenty hungry, but all the hibernating animals are still asleep, so the hungry predators get bold, and they know there's good eats along the road, so watch your backs, watch out for each other, and don't wander off." And then it was lights out. But a few days later... "Oh no, what happened, Raine?" Mrs. Himati just shook her head and hissed. We woke up and Tim wasn't in his bedroll. Once we did a perimeter check to make sure Tim was out in the John, or wasn't out in the John, Bob just started cursing. I like to imagine that somewhere over Alberta there remains a cloud of Bob's cursing just drifting around, startling unsuspecting birds. Luke radioed the other team to tell them Tim had disappeared. They said they'd alert headquarters, but unless HQ said otherwise, we were to continue the work. So then I teamed up with Fred, the other new guy. Fred was doing this work to save up to go back to college to study birds. While we were out picking up trash one day, I noticed that Fred kept looking up at the sky. "See anything good?" I asked him. He replied, "When's the last time you saw any birds?" I thought about it and told him about the nuthatch I saw on a car on the first day. But I didn't recall noticing any birds since, probably because we've been so busy and exhausted. And Fred said, "We should be seeing sparrows, nuthatches, maybe even siskins around now, or at least flying overhead, especially since the 18-wheelers driving through offer a free wind for the birds to glide on. But I've been looking for days, and I haven't seen any birds. It's odd. I even brought my bird-watching journal, so I could note what I've spotted, but I haven't updated it in 9 or 10 days. It's odd, is all." I said, "Well, Fred, if we're talking about odd things, I think it's odd that the cars that are along the shoulder of the road often are locked and have bodies inside. But the cars that we find near the tree line are usually unlocked and have no bodies inside, even though it's much harder to see from the road a car that far off the shoulder. Where did all those people go? Where did they think they were going on foot in the middle of the wilderness in the snow?" A few days later, "Raine, no, Fred did not disappear," I exclaimed as Mrs. Himati's eyes grew big and she stopped folding laundry, and we just stared at Raine as he slowly nodded his head. "What happened?" I implored him. We woke up and Fred wasn't in his bedroll, but it was still warm. But Luke said he passed him as he was walking back from the John. So we did a search, but we didn't find Fred. Fred's bird-watching journal and his binoculars were missing, and that was when I told Bob that Fred must have gotten up early to see if he could spot some birds. Gwen, I cannot in good conscience repeat what Bob said, as he swore up a storm. He grabbed the shotgun and Luke took the rifle, while Bill and I waited in the camper with Bill in the driver's seat and me in the passenger seat. Bill turned on the engine and let it idle. I asked Bill, "Is something hunting us?" Bill slumped in his seat a bit and turned to me. "We don't exactly know everything that's out there. Wolves are afraid of men when we're in groups, but there's stories about thinking wolves and worse things. Creatures that have a taste for humans. Thinking, cunning creatures that maybe once were human, but they sure ain't anymore. If you ever see a four-legged animal stand up on its back feet, not rear up, but just stand up, you better run and pray to the All-Mother that you are faster or that she sends you something to distract it from making you its supper." My mouth got so dry and my heart was ready to beat out of my chest. It was pounding so hard. Eventually I asked Bill, "Do you think that's what happened to Tim and Fred?" He nodded. "Most likely something called to them when they went outside alone. It can imitate voices. It can sound like people you know calling you into the wood. Once you get close enough, it can grab and wrestle you. My granny said some of them use knives or small axes they find. They live off our life force, so even if you cut it, that doesn't slow it down or make it cower like a normal animal. It's hungry for you." "What's it called?" Bill shook his head. "My granny said to never speak its name out loud, or it can find you. And I don't know if that's true, but I'm not going to risk it." Just then, Bob banged the door and said, "Open the door, kid! We gotta go!" So I unlocked the passenger door and hopped in the back of the camper as Bob sat in the passenger seat. Bob was out of breath, but still pushed out, "Drive, Bill!" Bill revved the engine and asked, "Luke?" Between breaths, Bob said, "He's in the truck, he's coming. Keep driving till I tell you to stop." And away we went. Bob got on the CB to confirm Luke was behind us, and then he contacted the other team. It turned out they'd just lost 2 team members that night. Woke up and 2 men were gone without a trace, not even footprints. Then Bob cursed a blue streak again and demanded HQ cancel the work. But thankfully, we still got paid. Eventually. "Hey, we're gonna be late for dinner. Let's go, kid." "Diary, what have I gotten myself into? I didn't know monsters were real in Canada. I wonder if I'll ever be able to fall asleep again. With trepidation, Gwen." Coming soon in Chapter 10, Something is Amiss at Whispering Academy. Mr. Grumpy's fingerprints were not found on the skiff or the liquor bottle found inside the floating skiff. And somehow the school auditor is not being replaced? What exactly did Mr. Grumpy find before he died? And why is everyone pretending nothing is wrong? Thanks for tagging along with Gwen in Chapter 9. This week, Gwen's normal school day turns into a crash course in Canadian wilderness horror. A bizarre new health class leads to an EMT's gruesome backwoods tale, which somehow becomes less disturbing than Raine's casual story about seasonal highway cleanup work in Alberta. What starts as abandoned cars and trash pickup spirals into missing coworkers, creepy voices calling from the trees, and creatures that might stand up on 2 legs and imitate your mother's voice from the forest at dawn. Now Gwen has an entirely new problem. If the monsters are real, how is she ever supposed to sleep again? Catch Gwen's Chaos and Sadie Cohen Bounty Hunter 2 wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple, YouTube, and beyond. If you've ever tried to keep your life together with nothing but caffeine, sarcasm, and a prayer, please tap the heart button. Leave us a comment. Gwen will absolutely overthink it while trying to fall asleep. And you can even toss a coin in the snack fund, Haunted Loonies, welcome, on Ko-fi, Venmo, and Cash App. Your support keeps indie storytelling caffeinated, chaotic, and just haunted enough. Stay tuned for Chapter 10, Something is Amiss at Whispering Academy at Glorious Magazine, gloryfink.substack.com. Stay connected with the Coffee Bun Crafters Cafe. Subscribe for cozy chaos, creative magic, and behind-the-scenes updates at coffeebunny.substack.com. And you can find me, Glory Fink, as Glory Writes the Blues on social media: Blue Sky, Instagram, YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, TikTok, and Threads. Thanks for listening. I'll catch you the next time. Goodbye.